everybody, welcome back to Starting Over with, I'm Gretchen.
I'm Camille. Hi, good to see you.
We're happy that y'all are here. Thank you so much. In case you're wondering what is our channel, Starting Over is a podcast that we developed back in November last year.
Yeah, 23.
Basically it's a guide to help you know how to regulate your thoughts and your moods.
And to start over in your life. We're all going to hit points in our life where we have to start over. And you can start over. It isn't over. You can choose your response and choose how you're going to have your future. So we've gone through a lot of things in our life where we had to start over. So we thought, why don't we help other people do this?
Right. So today we're actually talking about how many times do you really understand what your gut is trying to tell you?
Yes. And we mean intuitive, right? Intuitive gut. So have you ever had just the hair on the back of your neck stand up, Gretchen?
I know that I have, and before we go into the details of it, the reason why it's important, this is why we want to talk about this, because this is the spiritual connection of your guidance. Mm-hmm. So when you have a gut feeling, can be negative or positive, when you have a gut feeling, that is a spiritual connection to get you to either watch out for something or go for something, or you know what I'm saying? It's a direct message for you. Yeah. And to kind of know what we're hoping that is, we're going to help you understand what are those messages and what do I need to pay attention. So hair on the back of my head, yes, at times, definitely.
Yeah, I have too.
And I think if I was more aware of what that was, I would have paid attention to it more.
Yeah, because you probably go, what is going on with me? What am I sensing? Yeah. But I feel like we have a natural knowing, like I'll call it natural knowing, psychic ability, natural knowing. But it's maybe a barometer, it's an alert system, I think, maybe. And I do think we all have this. I think most people have had some sort of either hair on the back of their neck standing up, a tingling sensation in the back of your neck, or you feel like there's prickly sensation.
Or you could have it just even like a chill.
Yes.
Like a chill feeling. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So if you've got something that's just, what's going on? It's an alert to wake up, look around. Uh-huh. Yeah, pay attention. Yeah.
I think it's an alert that your spiritual side is saying, hey, I've got something to share.
Exactly.
Or watch out, or don't, or
Yeah, and it definitely is pause. I mean, it's like stop, or it's definitely saying something like that, right? I think so too. A certain feeling in your gut, like butterflies, or feeling queasy. And haven't you ever met someone for the first time and you just go, oh, something's off, or I like them, something's on. That's probably something we both have in common. Like we can sense people pretty quickly. That's a good, or.
Have you ever said these words like, I don't know what it is, but I just don't have a good feeling, or I don't know what it is, but I have this really peaceful feeling. That's what we're talking about. That's
exactly right. And I think that most people. Look, I think we live on our feelings. I would say the mood is decisive because what do you feel? What are you sensing? And we're more like that, I think, than a lot of people.
Yeah.
I'm more radar than I am logic. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, good. Unexplained goosebumps or chills.
Chills, definitely. Yeah.
I've had that.
Yeah. And, sometimes I think when people are in conversation about something, the other person that's having that part of the conversation has no idea. But if something resonates with you, and you feel these sensations, pay attention to it, because there's a message there.
Yeah. I've had this a handful of times in my life where a strong sense of knowing something without any logical explanation.
Oh, Camille, that is you all the time.
I know. I'm like, and I used to think everyone was like me. And I was in my 20s thinking, people were like, how did you think that? How did you know that? I'm like, what are you talking about? I don't know what you're talking about. I just have this sense, but I remember I've saved a man's life. I had this sense he was going to die. And I called his dad and said, please go and take him to the ER. And they did. And he ended up having a heart failure.
We have a friend that she sold her house here in the Salt Lake area. And she just knew she needed to go somewhere North Carolina area. Mm-hmm. She got in her car with her boyfriend and they just started driving. And she said, we got to this town upstate Georgia, and she said, I just felt compelled, let's just go check this town out. As it turns out, she's an artist. She found a space where she could have her gallery, and up above was a living space, that's where she lived. And she said, you know what? I didn't know this is where I needed to be. I just knew I needed to go in this direction.
And then she's living there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Isn't that astonishing, though, really? I mean, and she is very gifted.
So, and she said to me, we both know her, and she does a lot of wildlife type paintings. She said, I now have a new subject matter because where she's at is in the elevated part of Georgia. She goes, there's waterfalls everywhere.
Oh, wow.
Right?
I can't wait. Oh, I cannot wait.
Yeah.
Okay, very good. So, an unexpected wave of emotion that takes over you suddenly.
Have you ever been in some place, maybe you're talking to somebody and you just start tearing up?
Yes.
You just, oh my gosh, right? Something just hits you. I know we've had conversations where all of a sudden the emotions are just boom, so right there.
Yes.
And sometimes I think everybody experiences this, especially if it's speaking of someone that's passed. I'm not so I'm not so uncertain that it's not that person showing themselves to you at that moment, at that memory, at that feeling.
I agree. Well, and I think most people have a sense of something, and it scares a lot of people. People get scared with these kind of feelings, right? But I agree with you. I think most people have had these kind of things happen to them. A feeling of being drawn to something or someone without understanding why.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Yep.
I know we've had those conversations where you're like, I don't know what it is about you.
But I
I just knew from the beginning, blah, blah, blah. Or I just got this feeling like there's something off.
I'll tell you, I traveled to Italy, and I went to Europe for a while, a couple years back, right before the pandemic.
Right before COVID? It was during COVID.
It was during the. It was
Well,
actually.
it was during COVID, but
announced.
they didn't know exactly what it was.
I was in Greece when they announced that the pandemic was real and they were going to shut down the airports, and I couldn't get out. I'm like, well, I'm just going to continue my travels. And I did, at that moment, I was like, I had a sense of peace come over me. I was traveling with a handful of women, and they're like, oh my gosh, what are we going to do? And literally it was $2,000 to change your flight. And I just went, I'm okay. I'm okay. And literally we went from Greece, then I had a puddle jump over to Italy and Rome, and nobody was there. I went to the Vatican, no lines. We had nobody in the restaurants. It was phenomenal for me. I had a good time.
Yeah.
But Italy was where the Milan is where it all kind of started. And then we went back to Paris and flew home. And I got home the 9th, and they locked the airport down on the 10th.
See?
But I was totally fine. And so I had a sense of everything was going to be okay. Okay, a powerful sense of deja vu. I know that person. I've been here before. I have that a lot. I pick my people based on some of that stuff.
You know what? And have you ever been to like maybe you're out of town and you're in a hotel and you're thinking to yourself, why is this so familiar to me? And you've never been there?
Right.
Could have been a past life.
Could have been past life. Could have been.
Right.
And haven't you ever met somebody where you're like, I feel like I know that person?
Yes.
Yeah, that's been.
What is that? You know, these are all these things that we're talking about, y'all. I know you've experienced them.
Oh, yeah.
And this what we're wanting you to do is just pay attention because they're not going to stop. This is a spiritual communication that is happening.
Yes.
It happens to all of us. It's not just a certain few. It happens to all of us. It's just, are we paying attention to it, and how do we feel? What are we going with the feelings that come from it? If we're afraid of it, we need to figure out like what is it that I'm afraid of?
Yeah.
If I'm thinking about a loved one that has passed and perhaps they show themselves or they come or I have a feeling, why am I afraid of that?
That's right. And I remember watching a documentary about 9/11, and there were a handful of people that were sick, or their car didn't work, or someone spilled coffee on me, I had to go home and change. Like something happened
Kept them from
to prevent him from being at that disaster. So your palms become sweaty when you encounter a certain person or situation.
I've never
You ever
had that.
No? Well, my palms don't sweat, but I have had moments where I'm like, oh gosh, I think I told you about that guy from the Congo. I was in.
Oh yeah, y'all listen to this.
I've got a picture of this. I was in Canada at a conference, and I walked in the room, and this man was just, he was just looking around. I watched him. I was like, what's going on? And he looked right at me, and I was like, and you felt that gaze. People that feel. I felt his gaze.
Was he like searching the room for you, and then he found you?
Yeah, he's like, he could feel me, or something. I thought this guy's looking like he's feeling on, and it was directed to me. I didn't know if it was me or my partner there. It was intense, and he just stared at me, and I was just like, oh my gosh. And then I took a picture of him later with a female companion of his, and lo and behold, I have an image of a ghost. I am not kidding. It's on my phone. I showed you this, right?
I've seen it.
Yeah.
No, I've seen it.
So that was, and I think people that do, they are spiritualists, and he does some interesting spiritual things, but that's happened to me. Yeah. Okay. A feeling of being watched even when there is no one around. Have you ever had that?
I don't know because I don't.
It's creepy. I've had that.
Like that feeling.
I've had that. I had that a lot when I was growing up. You ever had night terrors where you're kind of screaming and you're awake? My mom told me I had night terrors when I was a baby girl, and she would, like, I couldn't. I would have them, and there was a season I just have them. A season I was just screaming, and I'm looking right at her, and I'm screaming, like, and I don't recall, but she said that the doctor diagnosed with night terrors, and then as I got older, I would have sleep paralysis. You ever had that?
Mm-mm.
Like you're laying there and I can't scream, I can't move, and they call it sleep paralysis, but it's horrifying, and you feel like something's holding you out of your body. It's the weirdest, awfulest thing. Wow. I don't like talking about it because it's so powerful, it's so potent. So yeah, difficulty sleeping on or nights or something for something important that needs to be decided upon. Well,
I feel like that could be anybody. If you've
that's
got
stress,
something really big happening the next day, it's on your mind.
Yes. Having vivid dreams about a potential outcome before it happens. I have that.
My dreams don't necessarily make sense. I mean, like, I could dream about a piece of fried chicken walking down the road. Like, it just really doesn't really make a lot of sense.
I love that.
So if I have a dream about something, I don't usually put a lot of weight into it, just because I don't have a background that they
my
have.
Mother. My mama, okay, get this. My mother had a dream 3 times, and the dream was she saw a deer run across the road, and she veered off a cliff. And so basically this dream happened. She was 16 with her girlfriends driving up a canyon road, and it wasn't a deer that had her veer off a cliff, but it was deer hunting season. She went off a cliff, literally was almost decapitated. She went through a windshield. Horrible accident. My mother did, yeah. But she had a premonition 3 times. Something was trying to warn her about that.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's happened to my mother, and I think I got my weirdness honestly. It came. So, but I've had some things like that too. Just a sense of something's going to happen, and so I will pause and go, "What is this about? Is it me? Is it someone else?" I'm always looking to see if it's me or someone else.
Right.
Yeah, what's happening there? Interesting.
And coming from Camille's background, I mean, Camille is intuitive, so she can read people, she can figure things out astrology wise, and so I'm sure you're very in tune to a lot of this stuff.
Yeah.
Whereas I think normal people like me, sorry, you're not abnormal, but I'm just saying those that are not in touch like you are, Camille, we may just dismiss this stuff.
Yeah. Well, and that's why I thought everyone kind of had these senses like me, and so I'm like, you don't feel that? And so people are like, what is going on with you? And I did. I was like, open mouth, insert foot. I didn't realize that I had something different going on. Mm-hmm. But I have. I've always had something different going on. An overwhelming sense or desire to run away from someone or something, even when it doesn't make any sense. I had that once. I opened the elevator opened, and I saw this person. And look, most people, me included, I'm uncomfortable, but I'm going to get on there so I don't offend anybody. An animal would be like, pounce or flee, like they listen to their instinct. That's one thing about animals. They are instinct driven. That's why they're so good at, finding things or yeah. But I had the sense, and I thought, and I just stood there. I'm like, I'll take the next one. I didn't feel good about it.
Yeah.
So, and how many of you out there would get on the elevator just to not offend somebody, right? Mm-hmm. We humans are into pleasing and looking good. A feeling of being pulled in a certain direction, like a force field leading you somewhere. Ever had that?
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah.
I mean, I know that my whole career, especially as a single woman, I traveled.
Yeah.
So, I'm very aware of my surroundings and things like that. So I'm sure that I've had things that I was warned about.
Yeah.
So on the positive note, some positive things.
Oh, we're getting there.
Oh, are we not there yet?
We ain't there yet.
Oh, sorry.
We got time. Okay,
we're still in the creepy phase now.
Well, yeah, and so inner voice speaking to you, giving you clear guidance.
I've never heard, and I know you probably have.
I have that. Yeah.
I've not heard an audible voice.
Yeah, I have, and I'll tell you something. It's kind of like it's subtle. It isn't like it's loud. It's just really subtle, like, and it's just kind of like an impression. I just know to. Because like this morning, I was leaving for the house and something said, go back in your room. I'm like, this happens to me every day. And I'm like, and I'll argue, no, I got everything. I'm good. Like I'm talking to myself. And I'm like, okay. So I go back and sure enough, there's my makeup bag. There's everything. Like I needed to go back in there, right? And that is always what happens to me. So I'm grateful for that. I know I don't listen all the time. But,
you know what though? But that I've noticed that is happening to me more now.
Yes.
And it will just be something like, I'll just just quickly look over at something and I'll realize, oh, wait a second. My wallet's in that purse and I didn't switch it over, and then I'm always like, okay, thank you.
Yes. Like you're getting a little guidance there. Yeah. And then a strong feeling of intuition that can't be ignored. So, yeah, that's what we're talking about. Here's some positive ones. Okay. A sense of peace or calm that just washes over you. And I've had that. Like when I was in Europe. Yeah. I'm like, I'm going to be okay. Everything's going to be okay.
And even at times when things shouldn't be calm and peaceful, you still can have that feeling. You still can have that feeling, which is really what starting over is all about. Like, you don't need to depend on the outcome in order to feel good. You can actually feel good regardless of an outcome.
That's right.
At any time.
That's right. Feeling of excitement or joy that just kind of hits you.
Yeah. Have you ever, been daydreaming or thinking about something and just the thought of it makes you happy? Just the thought of it. That's the first step of manifesting, by the way.
Yes.
So when you feel it and you become it and you sense it before it's ever happened, that is the true definition of faith. And then law of attraction, it has to come.
That's right. Well, and it's an overwhelming desire to move in a direction. So we had that earlier too. A physical reaction such as tears or trembling when confronted with a situation. You've had that. I've seen you do that.
You know what? It's interesting. So I spent many years in court. Many years in court with my ex, going through a divorce, and I noticed that when I speak of things that are very either emotional or truth for me, I shiver like I'm cold, but I'm not.
You shake.
Yeah,
I've seen that too. Yeah.
Yeah.
That to me is trauma response, but I think that's how you hold that in. You had to hold that in. Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And by the way, I will also say, I was coming out of court one time and I was like, wow, I think I stink. I stink,
That is the
it was
scared
nervous,
sweat. Yes.
Nervous sweat. I never had experienced that before, but I was like, and it went through my shirt and a suit jacket.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? It was real.
And it's an acid. Okay. It's like literally like an adrenaline drip is what I think.
Wow.
Yeah, it's like an acid that comes out when you are in a fight or flight mode. And you couldn't leave. You couldn't flight. So you got to sit there and
sweat.
Suffer.
But you know what? It was weird. Like, I didn't feel myself like hot sweating.
Yeah.
Just I felt the odor. I smelled the odor.
Yeah. And that's a different kind of stink.
It's very different.
Yeah,
very
because
different.
it's a scary stink. This one's symbols that have personal meaning to you, like angel numbers. Oh, a lot of people ask me, like, I'm seeing 1111 or 4444. Like, this is seeing symbols that have personal meanings to you or an angel number. And I do notice that if people are going through something, they'll, like, a song will play and like, oh, that's so memorable, and or weird numbers like that. I've seen that happen. My ex-husband, so this is weird. The day before, I'm driving to work and that song Grandpa by the Judds came on. And it's a great song and I was crying. I'm like, oh my gosh. I'm thinking, why am I crying to this? But I loved it. I was crying. I thought of my hormonal whatever, but I was crying. I get home. You never know. You didn't know. So I'm crying. I get home.
I'm smelling myself.
That's right. Rich is good for that. No, we go. So I get home and I'm like, I just had a really awful day. I feel sad. I feel like I'm grieving. I don't know what's going on with me. And I was tearful. I said, let's just watch a movie. We sat down and watched a movie. And then we go to bed. But I looked over before we go to bed and I see a skull and crossbones. Okay. And this is in my 20s when I didn't know what the heck was going on with me. I thought, I'm dying. I think I'm dying. And he's like, what are you talking about? Because he couldn't see it. But I saw like a flash of a skull and crossbones. I'm like, I don't know what that means, but I just better go to bed. I took an Advil and went to bed. And I get up the next morning. The phone rings at 6 a.m. And I'm like, oh my gosh, your grandpa died. I woke right up with him and I said, your grandpa's dead. And boom, the pain was off of me and onto him. And then he started crying. But I was literally.
So you heard the song?
I heard the song.
You felt, and you
he
saw
was
the
coming to me.
Oh.
He was trying to tell, because he loved his grandpa. Okay. And he wasn't, he probably went to him too.
But he wasn't open to it.
He's a brickhead. He didn't hear. Yeah. Some people just don't.
Yeah.
And I'm not making that wrong, but for him, for sure, he couldn't do it. Literally, I was getting the messages and I was telling him what was going on. I told him I cried at that song and everything. He's like, well, that's just weird. And then I went, and that was one of in my 20s, I'm like, oh my gosh. I said, that is the weirdest shit happening to me. What is going on with me?
Right,
and then I started recognizing maybe I had some sort of intuitive ability. Anyway.
Yeah.
One of my first moments of aha, like, oh, something is different with me. Yeah. Crazy.
Among many things.
I know. Well, I think a lot of these have a strong inner knowing with that logical We had that earlier. Unexpected flashes of insight or clarity. Well, that was that too.
Yeah.
I had that. That's what I was just talking about. I was insight.
You know, and let's just tap a little bit on clarity. So clarity is truth.
Yes.
So when you have something that comes to you like a download or something like that, and you just know it, like you can't deny.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, it's just like I always give the example of gravity. Like I can't ever say gravity isn't real. It's real. I don't even know how to explain what gravity is, but it is real, right?
Yes.
And so that's what clarity is. When clarity comes to you, and you, no matter what, you cannot deny. You just can't deny what that truth is.
Yes.
You know, that could be a revelation, that could be an all-knowing, that could be an answer to something, that could be a message, whatever it is. But pay attention when you have that feeling like, man, I would bet my life on this.
Yeah.
I know this is factual. This is truth.
I think gamblers have a little bit of this. I've had a few people that are gamblers. My grandpa was a gambler, and he would buy horses and sell horses to Walt Disney, by the way.
Really?
Before it was big Disneyland. But he had that same thing. So he just had a sense of something, and he went with that gut.
Okay,
So,
gut feelings
gut
is what
feelings,
we're talking about.
yeah, intuitive
it really
gut
is.
feelings, yeah.
And sometimes what happens is we just dismiss them. Like,
Yeah.
oh, we get in our head. You were saying earlier, when you and I were talking, we tend to become logical.
Yeah.
This is not logical.
Yeah.
Okay, this is a spiritual awakening, a spiritual movement, a spiritual message.
Yes.
It isn't meant to make you go, well, let's just think about this. It's instant.
Yes, because if you go to your head about it, it isn't logical.
No.
You can't explain it. You can't understand it. And then this is why people don't ever talk about these things either. Oh, you're going to think I'm crazy or whatever. But look, I think we all have this natural knowing. I think we all have like an aura or a force field or an energy around ourselves. And that is something that we never get trained to do. So if you have this going on, y'all, pay attention.
Pay attention. Hey, this was fun. We're glad y'all were with us tonight, and we will see you next time. And again, also remember, if you would like to hire us to be your mindset coaches one-on-one, or we do team trainings with businesses or corporate speaking, just message us here and we'll get back to you and we'll get it scheduled. Appreciate you guys. Thanks so much. Bye.
Bye-bye.